So my mom owns a dog. We call her Dot. And we call her that because when she curls up, she looks no bigger than a dot. We fostered her, and then foster failed her and adopted her. And she is only 9 pounds. Doesn't even break the double digits. And she looks so incredibly messed up. She's part Chihuahua, which is already a messed up dog. She's a little bit inbred with an underbite and like big bulbous eyes. And she's also part Japanese chin, which makes her look a little bit like a Dotson. The problem with Dot is during the winters, even Texas winters, which are pretty mild in comparison to other places further north, Dot will just get so cold. Her body mass to surface ratio is just so out of whack, and she will shiver all the time. And so we started getting her these little dog sweaters. Now, the dog sweaters don't fit her properly because she's longer than she is tall, and so she's got short little dinosaur legs and a long body, and so we can never find anything that will fit her just right. Even the Dotson sweaters are just wrong. So I decided that I would make her a sweater. I just found the pattern for free online. I'm going to be using 3.5 millimeter needles, even though the pattern asks for 3.75 because I do not have 3.75, but I do have 3.5. I'm also going to be using 4 millimeter needles because that is what the pattern asked for. As for the yarn, we went to Hobby Lobby. I don't usually go to Hobby Lobby because I know they don't have like a great track record in general, but I do really enjoy their I Love This Yarn brand. It's very affordable and it has a nice feel with a lot of colors. So I could just bring my mom to the store and be like, hey, pick out the color that you think would look best on Dot, and it'd be fairly cheap. So that's why we went to Hobby Lobby. And the color my mom picked out is a color called Cinnamon Ceder. We got 2 in this color. It's a rainbowish color because I wasn't sure if 1 would be enough. I think it probably will be, but just in case we got 2, although they are not in the same dye lot. So that might be a problem. They look very similar though, so I'm not super concerned. And the total price for both of these skeins was $7.56 including tax, and that is with a 30% off sale on the yarn. So each one is a little over $3.75. So I'm going to go ahead and cast on. I'm going to be making the smaller size of the pattern for Dottie because her measurements are, her neck is 10 inches in circumference and her chest is 15 inches in circumference, which falls just into the smaller size of this pattern. And I think since it's a ribbed stitch, it will be okay because it can just stretch to accommodate her if need be. And the beginning of this pattern says to cast on 48 stitches, so I'll be using the long tail cast on because it doesn't say which cast on method to use, and I assume that this kind of needs to be stretchy for her. And I am using circular needles. I think you can use straight needles for this first part, but I'm going to elect to use circular needles. I read somewhere one time that people recommend using circular needles even if you're knitting something flat, because then you'll never lose your needle because it's always like attached. And you can knit flat pieces with circular needles, but you can't knit like circular pieces with flat needles. So the pattern specifies that I need to knit this rib for 1.5 inches for the size that I'm going to be making. And I measured, and it is about 1.5 inches. You have to keep in mind that some of those stitches are not knitted, but yeah, it's about 1.5 inches. I'm kind of liking the colors so far. I think they're really nice and subdued. I'm not 100% sure about this like maroon color because it seems to have more white in it than the other ones do. I really wish this would be more solid, but you know, what can you do? The yarn's pretty soft, and that's kind of what I've come to expect from I Love This yarn, so that's pretty nice. The pattern I was a little bit confused by at first. You can see in the time lapse that I spent a lot of time like looking stuff up, like looking patterns up on Ravelry, kind of seeing what other people were thinking. And just to me, like the way the pattern was written, it kind of seemed like instead of doing like a rib, it wanted me to do like kind of a moss stitch, but instead of being like knit 1, purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, they want me to like knit, knit, purl, purl, knit, knit, purl, purl, and the other row go like the other way. But I looked on Ravelry and that doesn't seem to be what people were doing, so obviously I must have read it wrong or misunderstood. But yeah, so this is the collar, and now I'm going to do the body shaping. I haven't gotten a blue yet. Gotten all the colors blue, so I'm kind of excited to see what the blue looks like. Right now it looks very autumnal, but I'm sure when the blue comes it will start looking a little bit more like rainbow. So I've just reached the amount of stitches here with all the increases that I'm supposed to have. I'm a little disappointed in this blue. I thought it was going to be a little bit thicker like this red, and it actually might supposed to be, but the problem is, like, around here I went to pull the end out of my yarn ball and it just like popped out. There was no, it wasn't even knotted, it was broken. So I went ahead and, you know, took the other end and kind of wove it in, but I was a little disappointed that the blue wasn't bigger. And then I'm supposed to continue knitting this as is until it reaches 4.5 inches from the beginning. But if you already look, it's pretty much already 4.5 inches, maybe a little over. And I still need to do one more row to get back on the wrong side. So I'm going to do that. It's pretty late, so I might not do anything else tonight besides that, but it is looking pretty cute. I think this is a solid like finish in a week project, maybe even in a couple of days if you're super fast, but I am not. I really like this pattern despite the fact that I'm having some trouble reading it at times and understanding what the pattern writer meant.
Several days later.
Hi Dot. How you doing, girlfriend? I'm making your sweater. I have finished dividing for the armholes. I think they're a little larger than the pattern suggests, but Dottie kind of has like muscular arms, or at least at the very top, so I wanted to leave enough room for her to stick her legs in. And I did 15 rows on each one, so now we're kind of equal. Something that has me kind of out of sorts is that the colors that we ended with don't necessarily match up. So I'm a center pull girly. This green is coming from the center here, and if I were to transfer this over here and then knit across, we'd end up with green and red over here, which is not the worst combination in the world, but I just don't think that looks particularly good. However, if we go on the outside is yellow right now, so I could not have to join. I would just start back over here. I can knit all the way across and we'd have yellow and red over here, which seems like a slightly better combination to me, but that does mean I would have to pull from the outside. So I think I might wind this up into a ball of yarn so that it's not as hard to unravel, and then I'll just start closing that up. Just in the pattern it doesn't specify make one left or make one right. So on the right I did make one left, and on the left I did make one right. We are well past the armholes now, and I got to another blue section, but I just don't think either this colorway or this color lot has very much blue in it, because even though this one was cut off early, this one doesn't seem to have very much more. But the length on this right now from start to finish is about 8.5 inches. The pattern recommends a full 10. I might even go further because I have plenty of yarn, and also because Dottie is a bit of a longer dog. So I'm gonna go try this on her right now to see what she looks like and go from there. So I just went and put the sweater on Dot, and it seems like everything fits. Maybe the neck is a little tight, but I think it will eventually, you know, stretch out with use. I think she probably needs an extra inch and a half from the 10 inches, because when I put this on her it was 8.5. I measured her and I think she probably needs another 2 to 3 inches, And because of the way ribbing works, as you stretch it, it gets shorter. And so I'm just going to add another 3 inches to be safe. So I'm officially finished with the piece. I just need to cut it and sew it all together. I just did like a basic bind off, nothing too special. I tend to bind off either like really tightly or really too loosely. I think this one was pretty perfect for what I needed to do. It does look a little messy at the end, but a dog's gonna be wearing it, so who really cares? I really like how there's no short row shaping, but it still kind of curves. If you've ever witnessed a dog, you know that they're not like a sausage. They're kind of a little curved because they have a little hump for their back. And I like how I didn't have to do any short row shaping for that. It was all done with the stretchiness of the ribs versus the garter stitch, which is comparatively more tight. I ended up going way further than the 11 inches, I believe, because I kept just putting it on her and it just kept not being enough. Yeah, like even just like end to end here, that's like almost 13. So curved, it's like more than that. Oh, also still like 13, but it is longer, so hopefully it fits her. I'm a little concerned it might be a little too short, but I didn't want to do anymore and I wanted it done. So but yeah, so basically I'm just gonna sew in all the ends and put it all together, and the next time you see it, probably be on Dottie.
Much later.
So Dottie's been wearing the sweater that I made her a little while ago for about a month now, maybe a little less, and my mom loved it so much that she gave me this really nice merino wool for Dottie, one skein, and I used it literally all of it. This is all I had left after sewing in all the ends and stuff, was just this like little maybe 2 or 3 foot long string. And so it is longer than the last one. It is very nice. And so Dottie now has 2 sweaters. Very stylish little dog.